Okay, so when it comes to being able to bore holes in your wood, you're going to want to use augers for that. And there's lots and lots of ways you can go about that, depending on the type of kit you're building and what you plan on using that kit for. And that's going to dictate a lot of things beyond where we're at now. Is what type of green woodworking are you going to do? Are you going to be doing smaller projects or larger projects? Are you going to be doing some things with dry wood and some things with green wood? You can get away with making an adapter like this one that I discussed in one of my earlier videos and just carve the T-handle for that auger adapter while you're in the woods. And then all of these augers will fit into that adapter very well for boring holes that you need. In that case, you may only want to carry this adapter and maybe either a roll or a set of like 3 bits of 3 different sizes. Now, this bit here is an 1.5 inch bit, and that's about the biggest bit you're going to find that doesn't have a T-handle attached to it or that doesn't require a T-handle to use it. Most of the bits that you're going to find bigger than this come on T-handled augers or are set up for a T-handled auger. Now there are exceptions to that rule, but not many. Once you get up around the 2-inch mark like this, you're going to have a large T-handle for that auger. You can also get just a brace, and this brace is a single directional brace. It's not a ratcheting brace, and it's more of a gentleman style brace, but this was picked up at a flea market for $5. So it's a very inexpensive tool, and I've seen lots and lots of braces under $10 at flea markets. Just make sure that all the parts are free moving, or that you can clean them up to make them free moving. Make sure the jaw chuck works really, really well and smooth, and the top turns nice. It's not too rusted or pitted out, and it will last you for the rest of your life. Now, the other type handle that you can get for these is, this is a number 2 Miller's Fall handle, and it's tapered, so it's larger on one side, smaller on the other. And it's just held on by 2 steel clamps that are screwed in place onto a wooden T-handle. And these will accept all of these larger type bits that I have T-handles on now, would all fit into this type of device as well. So all you have to do is carry the T-handle and you can break it down and put the bits beside it. If you're setting something up permanent, these permanent T-handle augers are very, very traditional. This is about 1.25 inch one here, and this is a 2-inch. And a 2-inch is probably the hardest one to find in very, very good condition. But a 2-inch is the one you're going to want if you're building benches and things that you're going to sit on. Anything that has to be supported by legs that's going to support a lot of weight, you really want a 2-inch auger for that. So if you can find one of these, you're going to want to. Now, it took me a long time to find this. I found this one at a sale, like a huge multiple dealer sale. And I bought it from an Amish guy who was selling used tools, and I only paid $20 for this auger, and I thought that was a phenomenal price. I think I also paid $20 for this individual auger. Now, I got this handle here, this Miller's Fall handle, and this single auger that was attached to it when I bought it for $20 as well. But I see these on the internet for over 50 bucks, so you just have to be careful where you buy them. Auger bits, this one here was handmade, and it probably cost me less than $3 to make that, or right at $3 to make that. Now, auger bits in general, depending on where you buy them, again, is going to depend on how much they cost and depending on the condition. But I buy lots and lots of these at sales, and I pay anywhere from $1 a bit to $3 to $5 a bit, depending on what it is. The most expensive one that I have is this Irwin bit here that's almost brand new, and I bought it in Seattle at a place called Hardwick Swap Shop, and I paid $9 for this bit. These other 2 bits that are also brand new Irwins, I paid considerably less. I think I paid $3 or $4 for each one of these bits. But that setup right there gives you 3 pretty good sized bits, and you could get away with this as a leg hole in something like a small stool or a small bench or something like that, but nothing that you're going to want to put a lot of weight on. If you're going to put a lot of weight on something, you really want to go with the 2-inch diameter hole for your legs. And we'll discuss more about this as we go. I purchased this tool roll off Amazon, and it allows me to put multiple size bits in there and just roll that up to put in my kit. And then all I have to do is take this around, and I can actually attach this to it if I want to the leather by just dropping it through here, and then it's all in one contained kit there with all my bits and my adapter together. so I don't lose anything. And then all I have to do is make the handle on the fly when I'm in the woods or whatever the case may be. But around the homestead, I generally use these larger type adapters and larger augers, or a bit and brace set up like this. But you may not want to carry something like this into the woods. It's much easier just to carry something like this if you're boring small holes. Once you get up to these bigger holes, the 2-inch, 1.5-inch type holes, you're going to want something a little more stout to hold on to those bits, or you're going to struggle. But you can make this handle as long as you want to, and it's a little bit smaller than it needs to be. It could be about a 3/4 inch diameter, or just about 3/4. These are 3/4 ID holes, and that thing could be 2 feet long, so you can get a lot more leverage on it, especially if you had 2 people. And then it would run a bit like this with no problem. I can tell you, it's all you're going to want to do to try to put a hole in a block of fresh maple. But it is hardwood. You just got to keep this bit straight up and down. Just keep the downward pressure on it. This is a good sharp bit, and it's still having a hard time getting in there. Okay. Let me push it to the bottom here and look. See where we're at. Nope. Not yet. Okay, I just turned her and she hung up, so I'm guessing that she went through the bottom side here. Yep. Okay. Give myself a little clearance here. Alright. I tell you what, that's a mountain of work to get that hole in that piece of maple. That's a good, 5-inch piece of maple right there. We're going to use for this mallet. Okay, so now that we have added a set of augers to our kit, now we can do other things. We can make other tools. And the first wooden tool that we need to make is a larger mallet. Not a maul, a striking maul, but a mallet. Basically a large hammer. We've cut a piece of maple for that, and we've augered a hole in it. And now we need to start shaping the handle. And if we don't want to take the time to make a shave horse right off the bat, we can make a small vise on a stump very easily using our auger bit. And I've taken just another piece of scrap black walnut here, and I've drilled 2 holes in it that are 7/16, one on each end, and it's longer than my stump. I just drove a spike in this end and left it loose right there, so it's got some maneuverability to come up and down for bigger pieces of stock underneath here. It could be a little higher than that or lower than that if that was your desire. If you didn't have a spike, you could always use a wooden peg. But because we have a dry stump here and not a green stump, I chose to use a nail. I wrapped a piece of rope around it, ran it through the eye, wrapped it around into a clove hitch with a stop knot, and just put a loop on the other end for my foot. And the way this works is you just get this stump maneuvered to where you want it. You put your work underneath it, just like that, and then your foot basically holds tension on the other end of this rope to lock it in place so it can't move. And you can release the tension to move it anywhere you want to. Drop your foot back down on it to give it more tension. And then if you're going to strip down handle material like this piece of red oak that I've got here that's green, it gives me a handy vise to put this thing in while I'm using my draw knife or a draw shave to remove the bark and begin to shape my handle. If this were in the woods and this stump were from a green tree, you'd have all the roots in the ground holding that stump in place. If you're using a stump that you're using as a hacking stock on your homestead, you can bury the stump a little bit if you'd like, or you can just put your foot up against the back of it to hold it in place. When you're working with green wood, it's not going to be near as hard to shave it, and if your knife is good and sharp, that will help too. All right, so we've driven this handle in by holding it up in the air and pounding it in. The inertia of this weight not moving as fast as this when you hammer it will jam that on there like an axe head. This is a green handle. It's not finished yet. It's just roughed out. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to let it season for a couple days because it will shrink. Now this head is green as well, but it was cut prior to this. And they're two different species of wood. We have red oak and maple. So the shrinkage is not going to be anywhere near the same. So I want to let this thing shrink up for a couple days and dry out. Now I'll get the bark stripped off of it. Hammer it in there as deep as it'll go again. And then we'll cut it off and we'll put a wedge in there and she should hold pretty tight. And then we'll have a mallet we can use for hitting wooden and metal wedges for splitting logs. And this will be another wooden tool that we've created with our green woodworking set. Now that we've added augers, we've been able to create the foot vise and this mallet, this large mallet, because of the augers. All right, guys, well, I'm Dave Canterbury with the Pathfinder School. I appreciate you joining me out here today for another in our series on green woodworking. Adding a tool and then making subsequently a couple more for our arsenal of tools we have for green woodworking. I appreciate your views. I appreciate your support. I thank you for everything you do for our school, for our family, and for our business. For all of our sponsors, instructors, affiliates, and friends, and I'll be back with another video as soon as I can. Thanks, guys.